It's because, at least my counselor had said, he's a master manipulator, and he just knew how to get me to compromise, and I don't even know how it happened. And so, welcome, sweet friend. It's so good to be back with you. And today I would really like us to talk about boundaries. Boundaries are extremely difficult, especially when you don't set them right off the bat, right? Our boundaries, they get walked all over our personal space, our mental space, our emotional space. It just gets trampled all over. And it makes it really difficult for us to ever stand our ground if you don't set the boundaries right off the bat and stick to them. It's really difficult to set them later. And so let's talk about some of those areas, okay? Because boundaries, they can cause us physical and emotional issues when they're stepped all over. And eventually you find yourself absolutely miserable and you just can't get out of it. You find yourself compromising your beliefs and your values, and you just can't stand your ground. And you start, like, I know for me, I had set things, that lines I would not cross, set morals and values. And I don't know, like, I tried establishing those, and somehow he just walked all over them, and I don't know, I gave up all my morals and values, it seemed like. And it was very, very frustrating for me when all of that happened. And it happened really quickly, and I think it's because, at least my counselor had said, he's a master manipulator, and he just knew how to get me to compromise, and I don't even know how it happened. And so it took me a really long time to ever be able to set those boundaries. And so some of the things that would happen, for example, at the beginning, well, first off, I said I would not have sex while I was married. Now, I had previously had sex, which was very devastating for me. It was a whole situation. I felt very coerced into it, and that was a whole thing. And so I had made a decision from that moment on that would never happen to me again. And so I stood behind that for years. And then when this guy came along, that ends up being my husband. I don't know, within 3 weeks, I'd had sex with him. And I thought, well, he must be going to be my husband, because I said I would not have sex until I was married. And so I don't really know how it happened. Then, and he was also a smoker. Well, I didn't want to marry a smoker. I couldn't stand the smell of it. I didn't like the way it smelled on you, your breath, the home, everything. I did not want to marry a smoker. So I told him I would not marry him until he had quit smoking. Well, he supposedly had quit, and like it was 6 weeks before we got married. He supposedly had not smoked in all of those 6 weeks. And so I didn't find out till right before we got married that he had started back smoking. He had managed to hide that from me. And so that was very frustrating, because there were so many things I wish I could have stood my ground on. And then after we got married, I was like, well, you are not smoking in the house, right? Well, guess what? He smoked in the house. And then our daughter, she ended up having ear infection after ear infection, ended up having to have her adenoids taken out, so many problems with that. And the doctors kept saying, well, he smokes in the house. And it was a very small house, so not a lot of really good ventilation. And so anyway, that was just very frustrating. And this happened time and time again for me, something that I would put my foot down on. And I would say, we're not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. And then somehow, I don't know, I just couldn't stand my ground. And it was so extremely frustrating. I don't know, have you experienced that? Because nothing is more frustrating than when you compromise. And I will tell you, once you compromise, it is extremely difficult to ever backtrack on that. And it's crazy how the little things can get you. Like some of the things, well, one of the things I learned when I started learning about boundaries is there was some things in my life that I was so frustrated about, and I was just angry. And what I learned was they're my fault. They're my fault because I didn't set boundaries, and so now I'm being walked all over. For example, my ex-husband, he had to get up early for work, and he, for whatever reason, could not wake up by the alarm. And apparently his mom used to have to throw water on him, which I wasn't even about to do because I know how he is, and I didn't want to get punched or something for having done that. And so so I had to wake him up every morning. Well, he was very difficult to wake up. And so it would take me minimum 30 minutes to try to get him up. And he would yell at me. He would be so mean to me during that 30 minutes trying to wake him up. And then he would finally wake up. Now, he doesn't remember the 30 minutes of me trying. And this was every single day for years and years and years. For over 20 years, I went through this. And it would start my day off bad every day because I start out being yelled at for 30 minutes, you know. And sometimes, some of those years, I didn't have to be up. And so it would just frustrate me, right? And then expecting him to take on his responsibilities as a husband, as the man of the house. He wouldn't do that. Like, I would end up having to pay the bills. I would have to cut the grass. I'd have to install the satellite dish on top of the house. I would have to do a lot of the man things that you would expect your husband to do. I would end up doing them because he would never do them. But what I learned in my boundaries classes that I've taken is, but that's my fault because I picked it up instead of leaving it down for him. So in other words, let the grass grow taller than the house. Let the bills not get paid. Whatever the thing, don't install whatever it is. If those are responsibilities that y'all have agreed on that are his, then let him do it. Think about what would happen. The grass get tall. Well, then you may have snakes. Well, or other issues, right? Eventually, he will start to do the job, right? Or hire somebody to do the job and it have to come out of his paycheck, right? Come up with things to make him realize what he's doing or whatever. With not installing things, well, then you don't have the satellite, right? Like, I went and took it upon myself to install the satellite, right? And so it's like, so when I get frustrated, it's because I've allowed, you know, myself to be frustrated over it because I've picked something up. So let me just give you some examples of what I started doing. So I stopped waking him up in the mornings, and he had to wake himself up. Yes, he was late for work. Yes, he almost lost his job. Yes, that would have been devastating for us had he lost his job. But my sanity was important, and it was his responsibility to get himself up. It was not my job. I had to have his coffee ready for him and brought to him, breakfast ready for him, his clothes washed and ironed or folded or hung up, whatever. He always had to have his Mountain Dew and his cigarettes, like all the things, right? Dinner on the table when he got home. And it was all these things that would frustrate me. You know, they would affect my day. And I started saying, you know what? You are a grown man. You can wash your own clothes. You can make your own coffee, make your own breakfast, fix your own dinner, you know, like, and you know, we're talking 25 years of a lot of things when I got to that point that I was like, you know what? These things are making me so unhappy to do. I mean, there was lots of things wrong. These are just little things. But I was like, I'm not doing them anymore. I'm just not doing them anymore because I have to think about me and how it's affecting me. And I'm starting my day off terrible every single day. And I'm feeling like I've got to hurry up to get this done or that done. And I'm just not going to do it. I can't do all that I need to do and the things that you need to do at the same time. And so that was one of the things that I set. And I will say that drove him crazy. It made his world all out of whack. But that was not my responsibility. And I was like, you're a grown man. You can do these things. But I will say, you have to decide what boundaries you want to set for yourself, what boundaries you can stand behind. Do not set a boundary you cannot stand behind, because then it will backfire on you. Start out with baby steps, small little things at a time. I didn't do all of mine all at one breath, you know, but I did, you know, I started doing each one, you know, as I went along. And so I will say, make a decision on the things that you can control and that you can change, and baby steps. And boundaries are so good. They're good for you because they can bring you peace, but they're also good for other people because then they can learn all about setting boundaries themselves. Or it can make them lose their ever-loving mind, like mine did. So, you know, it exposes people. It exposes their true character and what's going on. And clearly communicate what you will and what you will not tolerate. If you want to see change, that is what you have to do. You have to set these healthy boundaries if you want to see change take place in these relationships. If you're in just a relationship, like you're not married, set these boundaries. And if he can't respect that, then that is not somebody that you need to be with, because I can assure you it will get way worse if you get married. So what you're getting right now is not going to get better if you're just in a relationship. And so just be warned and keep that in mind. You both should have the same goals and be shooting for the same target. So, you know, really think about these things before making a lifelong commitment to somebody. I do have a course. If you haven't figured that out yet, I do have a course. It's going to be offered in the link here below. It may even pop up on the screen. Would love for you to check out my course. It's at rock bottom price right now. And so I would love for you to take the course. There will be a coupon code that I will offer for a limited time to get it at the lowest price available. Would love for you to check that out. Please make sure that you like this video. Please make sure to share it with other women that you may know that could really use this. I just want to be able to help you if I can in any way. I really hope these videos encourage you and strengthen you and give you some food for thought, some things you can do or change, maybe to help make life a little bit easier and give you a little bit more direction, and to point out maybe some red flags that maybe you hadn't thought about. So I hope this video helps. I thank you so much for watching it, and I really hope you have a blessed and wonderful relationship moving forward, and I hope you have a blessed day.